everybody, so it's 39 days until the deadline, and as you can see, I'm working hard. This time I'm going to be discussing the petticoat, and as you can hear, I've done a voiceover to make it more clear what the hell I'm actually doing. So I'm now mapping out the pattern of my petticoat, which is just like a circle skirt, and then I've done 10 and 12 width, like in the front 10 centimeters and 12 in the back, because it's an elliptical hoop cage. In retrospect, I would have done it longer because I didn't really measure it well. It's very smart to do the math, which I didn't really do, but do the math, don't be like me. I'm using elastic to make the waistband just because it's easy to get on, it's easy to get off, it doesn't leave a bundle of whatever, zippers, buttons, it's just very flat and easy, and I like working with it. So I just make 4 pins, 1 to each half and 1 to each quarter, and then under the sewing machine I stretch it out while I'm sewing it just to make sure that it's easy to get over your head, because if you don't get it over your head, you're really screwed. I'm pinning it the quarters of the elastic and the quarters of the base itself just to make sure everything lines up and is equally ruffled. See, I'm just pulling on the elastic while I'm pushing it through my machine. I'm also holding the back just because it tends to slip away and not get pretty. You can see the ruffles that are starting to form when it is unstretched. That gives extra floofiness to your skirt, which is really nice. Now I'm just sewing the two ends of the elastic together. You can see it's nice and polka dots. The points where the elastic meet is my front seam, so it's easy to recognize when I'm putting it on which is front, which is back. Now I'm starting to pin the tulle to the base. I quickly stopped. I think I got about 3 pins in. It's easier to just do it by machine. This takes a lot of work and it doesn't pay off because most of the time you're gonna have to move the pins anyway. So just do it by machine, skip this step. Don't hate yourself. And about 50 meters of ruffle tulle. And just sewing that to the skirt. I ruffled it in the previous video. I used this 50 meters and I've got another 50 meters in the lower tiers, and then I realized I didn't have enough meters, so I ruffled another 50 meters. So you're gonna need a lot, be prepared. I actually used up even more than the 150 meters that I already talked about just because I didn't really like the shape, which you will see later, so I made a tiny little petticoat just to make it rounder. You can see here I'm not even using the pins anymore, I'm just going directly from my shoulder and just sewing them on. It's so much easier. half and then sewed it so it's extra poofy. And I actually sewed the second tier on separately from the 2 layers, so I sewed it to 1 layer, which in retrospect was also a mistake, just because I thought there would be more layers and I would do 2, but it was poofy enough and I really didn't need it. So here's me putting on my crinoline because I finished the second layer off camera. So there are now 2 tiers on my petticoat, and I'm just going to put on the crinoline so you can see what it's going to look like in the end. And just because I really love moving around in this thing. So there you go. I'm just adjusting the layers. You can see the tiny bit of unsewed tulle right before the first hoop of the skirt. So it's already quite poofy just with the 2 layers. And here you can see me finishing up the 3rd layer, which I also did off camera. Just this part, I didn't have enough like I said earlier, so I'm just ruffling and sewing at the same time, which is possible with my ruffler foot, which is really great because it saved me so much work. So as you can see, there are 2 separate parts. So I'm just sewing the ruffled parts together at the end. That was my lamp falling down. Happens a lot, don't worry. So just a quick back and forth, and then you're done. Even without the crinoline, it is quite poofy and it's really hard to store. But I mean, there's a price. So here's the crinoline again, and then there you go with the tulle. And I've marked back and front seam just so I don't lose it because that happens a lot, and I don't want to have it all wrong and have the back floating, which it still does, as you can probably see in the mirror after a while when I've all settled in. You can see that the back is floating off the ground. It bugs me, but I mean, girl can't have everything, right? So there it is, 3 tiers, and you can see the loose hanging tier. Terrible, but whatever. I maybe in retrospect I would have made the entire upper skirt shorter, but whatever. So here is the tiny petticoat I made. It is 2 tiers just attached to a tiny elastic waistband, and it is optional just because sometimes I might not want it and I don't know how it's gonna look in the end. So this makes it more round and just more floofy on top, not just on the bottom. As you can see, it has a round shape, which is more what I want. It's that elliptical feel. If you like this video, then give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and check out my Tumblr page, Merrily Fluas, and my Instagram page, Strangers to Love.